Let's take a look at the Lewis model of chemical bonding. This is a very simple model of chemical bonding that simply says that atoms form bonds when they either share or transfer their valence electrons. So if we recall, all atoms have two sets of electrons, what we call their core and their valence. The core electrons are the electrons in those completely filled shells or completely filled orbitals. And because those orbitals are completely full, that gives it some extra stability, and those electrons don't like to move around. The valence electrons are the electrons in the very outside of the atom. They're in the last unfilled shell or unfilled orbitals, and for that reason, they're much more willing to move around and a lot less stable than those core electrons are. Overall, atoms really want to get to a nice full outer shell. For most non-metal atoms, that means they end up with 8 valence electrons, which we call an octet for 8. The exception to that would be hydrogen and helium. They have the 1s shell that can only hold 2 electrons, so they only like to have 2. We call that a duet. So atoms are going to try and achieve these full octets or duets by making chemical bonds with other atoms. For right now, we're going to hold off on actually showing how we make these chemical bonds, and we're just going to show how to represent atoms with their valence electrons. We can also do this for ions, either positive cations or negative anions, and when we do that, we have to make sure that we show the charge on the ion, and we usually put those ions in brackets. So let's look at a couple examples here. So we can start here with sulfur. If we look at the periodic table, sulfur has 6 valence electrons. So what we'll do is we'll draw a sulfur atom and we'll put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 electrons. And that's it. That is the Lewis model of the sulfur atom. Same thing here. We can do it for lithium. Lithium has 1 valence electron, so we draw a lithium, and we just put 1 electron on there. Now here the next one we see is lithium plus. That plus 1 means he's lost 1 valence electrons. So for Li plus, that guy has 0 valence electrons, so we're just going to write it like this. He lost that electron he had up here, and now it's just lithium with a plus. Now we can look at this last example, bromine, but we see he has a -1. Bromine normally has 7 valence electrons, but now he has an extra one, so we have to add 1, which means all told this bromine has 8 valence electrons. So we draw our atom, bromine, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because it's an ion, we put brackets around him, and we indicate that charge up in the corner. And we're done.